I'm Dale Powell, and today I would like to welcome you to that spirit of story time. And today's story is one I call Seeing the Entire Elephant, and it's based on a parable called The Blind Men and the Elephant. Now, the parable of the blind men and the elephant originates from ancient India, and it tells the story of a group of blind men who have never come across an elephant before. And when they finally come across one, they each touch a different part of the elephant's body, such as the side, the tusk, the trunk, the leg, and so on. Based on their limited experience and remembering that each one is blind, they describe the elephant differently. The first man touches its side and says, "The elephant is like a wall." The second feels the tusk and he insists, "Oh no, this is sharp. The elephant is really like a spear." The third grasps the trunk and he argues, "Hey, an elephant is really like a snake." The fourth holds onto a leg and describes it as a tree. Yeah, they each assert their interpretations and they come into conflict, unable to see that their descriptions are only partial truths. The moral of the story is that humans often claim absolute truth based on our very limited experiences. Yeah, long ago the poets warned us that lots of times we only see the partial truth. And today we've improved on that lesson, but not the way we should have. We still only see part of it. But today we not only insist loudly that we are right, we tend to insist that everyone else is wrong. So I've written something here that I want you to take in and listen to for just a moment, because I call this one The Six Loud Men and the Internet Elephant. And yeah, as you might have figured, it's a bit of satire. My apologies to John Saxe, who wrote the original, but here's my 2026 interpretation. The Six Loud Men and the Internet Elephant. It was six loud men of modern time, to arguing they were much inclined, who went to see the elephant, though none of them would use their mind. The first approached the massive side, puffed up and proud to tell, "'Tis clearly like a solid wall, and if you disagree with me, you're dumb as hell." The second felt the tusk and scoffed, "You fools are all absurd. It's like a spear, and anyone who doubts me hate our country and our world." The third grabbed hold of the withering trunk and shouted full of spite, "A snake, a snake, and all of you are idiots, not bright." The fourth embraced the sturdy knee and roared with knowing grin, "A tree, you clowns, and clearly you have never once thought in." The fifth, who touched the flapping ear, declared with lofty air, "This is a fan, and all dissenting views are ignorance laid bare." The sixth took hold of the swinging tail and sneered without remorse, "Why, this is a rope, and if you think not, you argue now with God, of course." And so these men of modern thought disputed loud and long, each certain he alone was right, and all the rest were wrong. Though each had grasped a bit of truth, they missed the greater scope, for none would pause to see the beast beyond his bit of rope. Yeah, that's where we were. That's where we are. Here's the way John Saxe wrote this back in the 1800s. "It was six men of Indostan, to learning much inclined, who went to see the elephant, though all of them were blind, that each by observation might satisfy his mind. The first approached the elephant, and happening to fall against his broad and sturdy side, at once began to bawl, 'God bless me, but the elephant is very much like a wall.' The second, feeling of the tusk, cried, 'Ho, what have we here? So very round and smooth and sharp. To me it's mighty clear. This wonderful thing you call an elephant is very much like a spear. The third approached the animal, and happening to take the squirming trunk within his hands, thus boldly up and spake, I see, quoth he, the elephant. He's really like a snake. The fourth reached out his eager hand, and felt about the knee. What most this wondrous beast is like is mighty plain, quoth he. 'Tis clear enough. The elephant, why, he's very much like a tree. And the fifth, who chanced to touch the ear, said, even the blindest man can tell what this resembles most. Deny it if you can. Well, this wonderful, wonderful elephant, it's very much like a fan. The sixth no sooner had begun about the beast to grope, than seizing on the swinging tail that fell within his scope. I see, quoth he, the elephant, he's very much like a rope. And so these men of Indostan disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion, exceedingly stiff and strong. Though each of them was partly right, every one of them were wrong. Is that not our society today? The old poem got one thing exactly right. Each one of them held a piece of truth. And back then, they just argued a little. In my modern version, they got downright nasty. But none of them saw the whole elephant. Maybe before we decide we're absolutely right, we should try to see the whole animal. And so the six men argued. They argued loudly because they were right. They argued confidently. They knew they were right. They argued as if certainty were the same thing as understanding. Each one had touched something real. Each one touched a piece of truth. Each one was telling the truth as they knew it. But none of them could step back far enough to see the whole elephant, because in this case, they're blind. Well, maybe we're not blind with our eyes, but we've blinded ourselves. They insulted the others. They declared themselves righteous. They mistook volume for wisdom. And the elephant remained an elephant the entire time. And maybe that's the quiet lesson standing in the room with us right now. The tragedy was never that the men were wrong. They weren't. Everything they saw was exactly what they saw. Well, they didn't see it. They were blind. What they experienced. The tragedy was that each man believed his piece was the absolute truth. But the truth rarely announces itself all at once. Most of the time it arrives in fragments, a single shape. And when we cling to that fragment as if it were the full picture, and we don't just misunderstand reality, we misunderstand each other. What would have happened if each of them had said, tell me what you felt. Tell me what you saw. Tell me what you experienced. Not to be right, not to win, but to understand. Imagine the sound of that conversation. The elephant wouldn't have changed, just like situations don't change with our arguing. No amount of our screaming about it makes us more right or more wrong. So maybe the next time we feel absolutely sure that we're right, we should pause long enough to wonder what part of the elephant someone else is touching. Maybe their life doesn't match up with yours. And maybe it doesn't come from gripping tighter onto the space where we are. Maybe it's time we stop to see the entire elephant, not just part of it. I'm Dale Powell. I'll see you again soon.